0500 hours, coastal waters, contested northern sector. The pre-dawn darkness sits heavy on the water, a suffocating blanket of black and gray. Thick, freezing fog rolls off the nearby cliffs, swallowing the horizon line and blurring the distinction between sea and sky. Two United States Navy frigates cut through the black swell in a standard line-ahead formation. Their engines hum a low, steady vibration that runs through the steel decks and into the boots of the watchstanders. The salty air bites at exposed skin. On the bridge of the lead vessel, the red glow of instrument panels illuminates the tired faces of the night crew. They sip lukewarm coffee and stare into the gloom. The rhythmic sound of the bow slicing through water provides a deceptive, hypnotic rhythm. Inside the Combat Information Center, the atmosphere is sterile and cold. Blue light bathes the room. Young specialists hunch over their consoles, their fingers dancing across keyboards. The radar sweeps endlessly, painting green lines against the empty screen. A sonar operator adjusts his headset, pressing the cups tighter against his ears. He frowns. A patch of static washes over the audio feed, a ghost signal that shouldn't be there. He types a command, filters the noise, and listens again. The sea is too calm for this latitude. The silence is unnatural. On the starboard wing, a lookout wipes condensation from his high-powered binoculars. He squints at the dark shape of the coastline 3 miles distant. The jagged cliffs usually look like dead stone, but tonight the shadows seem to shift. He leans over the railing. The wind changes direction. It carries a faint metallic scent, the smell of diesel fuel and heated grease. Bridge, lookout. Visual anomaly on the coastline, bearing 090. The officer of the deck steps to the window. He raises his glass. The fog momentarily parts near the water's edge. The dark silhouettes of the cliffs suddenly change shape. Massive camouflage nets drop away from the rock face. They fall like dead leaves, revealing the cold, hard lines of steel barrels. Hard to port. Combat bridge. Contact, contact, contact. The alarm clacks and screams. The sound shatters the morning calm. Sailors bolt from their racks, boots slamming against the metal deck plates as they scramble to general quarters stations. The watertight doors slam shut. The ship lurches as the rudder bites into the water, the hull groaning under the sudden torque. On the shoreline, the trap snaps shut. Muzzle flashes tear through the mist like lightning strikes. The entire cliffside erupts in a synchronized violent convulsion. 150 distinct blasts roar across the water. The sound hits the ships a split second later. A concussive wave that rattles the bridge windows and knocks the lookout to his knees. Smoke bellows from the Irish coastal batteries. The sky lights up with a terrifying, burning orange glow. A swarm of 155mm artillery shells arcs high into the gray dawn, whistling as they reach the apex of their flight. They descend with the sound of ripping canvas. The air creates a high-pitched scream as the steel rain falls toward the maneuvering frigates. The captain of the lead frigate grips the console. He watches the radar screen fill with incoming tracks. There is no time for countermeasures. There is no time for the point defense systems to lock on to so many targets. The ocean around the ships erupts into towering geysers of white water and shrapnel. The first salvo lands. 0517 hours. Lead US frigate. The world dissolves into noise and fire. The white geysers of water collapse, replaced instantly by the black smoke of high explosives. The ship shudders violently as the shockwaves hammer against the hull plates. On the bridge, the tactical display flickers and dies. The air smells of ozone and burning plastic. The captain shouts orders, but his voice is lost in the roar of incoming ordnance. 155mm shell punches through the forward deck plating. It detonates deep inside the bosun's locker. The explosion vents upward, tearing a jagged 10-foot hole in the steel. Hot shrapnel sprays across the bow like buckshot. Two sailors manning the forward gun are hurled backward. They hit the bulkhead with a wet crunch. Another round smashes directly into the main superstructure. The impact obliterates the primary radar array. Twisted metal rains down on the signal deck. Sparks shower the bridge windows, which shatter inward a second later from the overpressure. Glass sprays across the command crew. The executive officer falls, clutching his face. Blood streams through his fingers, dripping onto the navigation charts. "Damage control, report!" the captain yells, wiping soot from his eyes. "Comms are down, sir. We lost the antenna." The second frigate takes a direct hit to the stern. The shell pierces the thin armor of the helicopter hangar. It finds the aviation fuel storage. The rear of the ship erupts. A massive fireball rolls outward, engulfing the flight deck and the parked Seahawk helicopter. The heat is instantaneous and blistering. The aluminum skin of the aircraft melts and drips onto the deck. Black smoke billows into the sky, choking the morning light. The fire suppression systems kick in, spraying white foam, but the flames are too intense. They roar like a living thing, feeding on the leaking fuel. The ship lists 5 degrees to port. On the shoreline, the Irish batteries reload. The mechanical rhythm is relentless. Breech blocks slam shut. Officers scream coordinates. The guns fire again. The second wave of shells screams toward the crippled vessels. The lead frigate attempts to turn. The rudder responds sluggishly. A shell lands amidships, right at the waterline. The explosion rips the hull open to the sea. Salt water rushes into the engineering spaces. Steam pipes burst, scalding the crew below. The lights in the corridor flicker and go black. Emergency red lighting bathes the smoke-filled passageways. "Brace for impact!" A chief petty officer screams in the hallway. The second volley arrives. The ocean churns with debris. 0520 hours, the kill zone. The artillery barrage abruptly shifts. The shellfire lifts from the ships and walks its way into the open ocean, creating a wall of noise behind the American task force. The sudden absence of explosions on the decks creates a jarring, ringing void. Thick black smoke from the burning aviation fuel rolls across the water, obscuring visibility to less than 50 yards. The ocean surface is an oil-slicked mess of debris and white foam. Inside the drifting smoke, a new sound rises. It is the high-pitched whine of turbo-diesel engines pushed to the red line. The fog bank to the east tears open. 3 Irish patrol vessels burst from the concealment of the cliff shadows. They ride high on the water, their bows lifting clear of the waves as they accelerate. White wakes carve violent scars into the dark sea. They do not fire missiles, they do not slow down. They run completely dark, no navigation lights, no radar pulses. They are jagged steel wedges aiming directly for the wounded frigates. "Contact! Surface contact! Starboard beam!" A lookout screams on the lead US frigate. Sailors stumble over twisted deck plating to reach the heavy machine gun mounts. They rack the charging handles. The .50 caliber guns roar to life. Lines of orange tracer fire zip across the water. The heavy rounds hammer against the approaching Irish hulls. Sparks fly in showers of gold and white. The lead Irish ship takes a burst to the wheelhouse. Bulletproof glass spiders and cracks. The steel hull dents and pocks, but the vessel does not waver. It cuts through the waves, closing the distance at 40 knots. On the US frigate, the captain fights the listing deck. He looks at the approaching threat. The main gun is jammed, the barrel twisted from the artillery strike. The defensive autocannons are offline. "Hard to starboard, get us clear!" he yells. The helmsman spins the wheel. The frigate shudders. The damaged rudder fights the water. The ship turns agonizingly slowly. It is too heavy, too full of water. The Irish patrol vessel adjusts its course. It matches the turn. It lines up perfectly with the exposed engine section of the American ship. The distance shrinks. 500 yards, 300, 100. The roar of the Irish engines drowns out the shouting on the deck. The bow of the patrol ship looms large, a reinforced steel ram towering over the low railing of the frigate. US sailors abandon the machine guns. They scramble away from the rail. They brace against bulkheads. The Irish ship commits. It does not reverse engines, it strikes. 0522 hours, lead US frigate amidships. The impact is not a thud. It is a shriek. The reinforced steel bow of the Irish vessel acts like a massive chisel. It punches through the frigate's gray hull plating as if it were paper. The metal buckles, folds, and snaps. Rivets pop like gunfire. The structural ribs of the American ship shear in half. Inside main engineering, the world tilts. The bulkhead wall travels inward 4 feet in a millisecond. A high-pressure steam line ruptures. Superheated vapor fills the space instantly. It cooks the paint off the walls. Turbine. 2 disintegrates. The spinning blades shatter, sending jagged metal shrapnel flying through the compartment. "All stop! Emergency stop!" the chief engineer screams. He is thrown across the room and hits the control panel. The Irish ship drives deeper. The momentum carries it 10 feet inside the frigate's hull. The sea rushes in through the gaping wound. It is a torrent of freezing green water, mixed with diesel and hydraulic fluid. It sweeps away tool chests, loose gear, and 2 sailors who try to reach the watertight door. The frigate violently rolls 20 degrees to starboard. On the bridge, officers slide down the deck. Books, coffee mugs, and tactical tablets crash into the bulkhead. The emergency lighting flickers and dies. The ship plunges into total darkness. Generators offline, we lost power. Down below, the water rises past the gratings. It hits the main switchboard. Electrical arcs snap and hiss like angry snakes. Sparks shower the flooding compartment. The smell of burning insulation mixes with the copper tang of blood. The Irish vessel finally halts, its bow wedged tight inside the American ship. The engines of the patrol boat reverse. The propellers churn the water. The steel grinds again, a low vibrating moan. The Irish ship pulls back. The wedge is removed. The hole is left open. The ocean pours in unchecked. The frigate groans. It settles lower in the water. The deck angle increases. 0525 hours, the waterline. The lead frigate dies. The list passes 40 degrees. Gravity takes absolute control. On the flight deck, the safety chains on the parked helicopter snap under the strain. The multi-ton aircraft slides sideways, catches on the netting, and tumbles into the sea with a massive splash. It sinks instantly. Abandon ship! All hands, abandon ship! The loudspeaker announcement is garbled, cutting in and out as the electrical grid shorts. Sailors spill out of the hatches. They slide down the oil-slicked hull, grasping at railings and cleats. Some jump from the high side, plummeting 60 feet into the black water. They hit the surface hard. Life vests inflate with sharp hisses. The water is freezing. It sucks the breath from their lungs. Thick, black fuel oil coats their eyes and mouths. They gag and thrash, trying to swim away from the descending steel mountain. The frigate rolls completely onto its side. The massive radar mast splashes into the ocean, smashing a deployed life raft. The hull groans, a deep, resonant sound of twisting metal that travels through the water and vibrates in the chests of the swimming sailors. 0530 hours. Second U.S. frigate. 300 yards away, the second American ship fights for its life. The captain screams into the radio, demanding air support. Static is the only reply. The coastal artillery resumes its rhythm. Shells bracket the vessel. Water columns erupt on the port side, drenching the bridge. Shrapnel rakes the exposed decks, sparking off the missile launchers. The ship is pinned. It cannot turn east without grounding on the reef. It cannot turn west without crossing the line of fire. Contact astern! High speed! The second Irish patrol vessel emerges from the smoke of the sinking lead ship. It does not aim for the hull. It aims for the drivetrain. The U.S. frigate's rear phalanx gun spins up. It fires a buzzsaw stream of tungsten rounds. The tracers chew up the Irish ship's superstructure, shredding the radar mast and shattering the bridge windows. But the Irish helm is locked, the throttle is taped forward. The patrol boat slams into the U.S. frigate's stern. The collision is sickeningly precise. The hardened steel bow crushes the delicate rudder assembly. It drives straight into the propeller shafts. The sound of grinding gears screams out, loud enough to be heard over the artillery. The starboard propeller shaft snaps. The engine RPM spikes violently, then the turbine seizes. The U.S. frigate shudders to a halt. The rudder is jammed hard over. The screws are dead. The ship drifts helplessly in the kill zone. 0535 hours. Second U.S. frigate. The vessel is a floating tomb. The engines are silent. The only sound is the roar of the fires consuming the hangar and the groaning of the twisted stern. The Irish patrol ship backs away. It disengages, engines screaming in reverse, putting distance between itself and the American hull. It disappears into the mist. The frigate is left alone. On the cliffs, the spotters adjust their optics. The target is stationary. The firing solution is perfect. The artillery batteries unleash a concentrated volley. 10 shells strike the frigate simultaneously. The impacts are not individual. They are a single, continuous jackhammer event. The superstructure disintegrates. The main mast topples forward, crushing the bridge roof. Shrapnel shreds the life raft's canister mounted on the port rail. It bursts open, spilling the deflated rubber uselessly onto the burning deck. A delayed fuse shell punches through the forward deck. It penetrates deep, bypassing the mess hall and entering the ammunition magazine. The explosion is cataclysmic. A column of white fire shoots 500 feet into the air. The pressure wave vaporizes the water around the hull. The bow of the ship lifts entirely out of the ocean. The steel plating peels back like a banana skin. The blast sends a turret flying end over end into the sea. The ship breaks its back. The keel snaps with a sound like a gunshot that drowns out the artillery. The bow and stern separate. The ocean rushes into the gap, creating a massive whirlpool between the two broken halves. Sailors clinging to the stern are thrown off their feet. The deck tilts vertically. They slide down the metal, tumbling into the frothing water. The suction from the sinking hull grabs them. It pulls debris, oil, and bodies down into the dark. 0540 hours, impact zone. The ocean reclaims the steel. The bow section of the second frigate is already gone, plummeting toward the seafloor 2,000 feet below. The stern section remains surface side for a heartbeat longer. It bobs vertically, the twin rudders pointing at the gray sky like tragic monoliths. Then, the buoyancy fails. The air trapped inside the hull compresses and vents with a low, mournful whistle. The stern drops like a stone. It slides beneath the waves, leaving only a swirling vortex of white foam and black oil. The surface is a killing field. The layer of aviation fuel floating on the swell continues to burn. Orange flames dance on top of the water, creating a barrier of heat that forces survivors to dive under the surface to avoid being scorched. A young sailor surfaces, gasping for air. He wipes slime from his eyes. He treads water, kicking off his heavy boots. Debris rains down around him, splintered wood, plastic crates, torn insulation. A heavy steel hatch cover bobs in the swell, striking a nearby swimmer in the shoulder. The man goes under and does not come back up. "Over here! Grab the raft!" A lone orange life raft, miraculously unpunctured, inflates with a sharp whoosh. It drifts near the fire. Hands reach up from the black water. They claw at the rubber sides. Fingernails scrape against the wet material. One man hauls himself over the side. He collapses on the rubber floor, coughing up seawater and blood. He reaches back and grabs the collar of a shipmate, dragging him aboard. The artillery stops. The silence that follows is heavier than the shelling. On the cliffs, the camouflage nets are pulled back over the guns. The Irish crews do not cheer. They work efficiently. They lock the travel clamps. They clear the spent brass casings. The 3 Irish patrol vessels regroup in the distance. They sit low in the water, engines idling. Their work is done. They turn their sterns to the burning oil slick and accelerate toward the fog bank. 0600 hours, the debris field. The sun breaks the horizon line. It casts a pale, sickly light over the destruction. The wind dies down, leaving the ocean eerily flat. A thick layer of black fuel oil stretches for 2 square miles, smoothing out the ripples. It coats everything: the drifting seat cushions, the jagged pieces of aluminum hull, and the faces of the living. The smoke from the fires thins out, drifting south in long gray ribbons. In the center of the slick, 3 overloaded life rafts are tied together. They bob sluggishly. Inside, wet sailors huddle together for warmth. A corpsman works on a wounded officer. He wraps a tourniquet around a crushed leg. He pulls the strap tight. The officer grinds his teeth but makes no sound. "Sound off! Who do we have?" a chief petty officer barks. His voice cracks from smoke inhalation. Raft 1, 12 souls. Raft 2, 8 souls. Raft 3, 5, 2 critical. The count is short. 200 sailors went into the water. 25 remain in the rafts. On the periphery of the debris field, a solitary helmet floats by. Then a boot, then a clipboard with soaked checklists. To the west, the fog bank swallows the last of the Irish patrol vessels. Their wakes dissolve. The radar signature vanishes completely. They leave no radio transmission. They offer no surrender terms. They simply disappear into the gray wall of mist, returning to the shadows of the coastline. A handheld radio in the lead raft crackles with static. Then a voice cuts through, faint and distant. Any station, this is US Navy patrol aircraft vectoring to your location. ETA 20 minutes. Sit rep? The chief stares at the empty ocean where 2 frigates stood 1 hour ago. He presses the transmit button. His hand shakes. This is Survivor Group Alpha. We are in the water. Ships are gone. I say again, ships are gone. We are ineffective. He drops the radio. It clatters against the rubber floor. The camera pulls back. It rises high above the water. The life rafts become small orange dots in a vast sheet of black oil. The cliffs of Ireland stand silent and immovable in the distance. The sea washes over the grave of the task force. 0620 hours, debris field. The drone of engines grows from a hum to a roar. A US Navy maritime patrol aircraft shrieks over the waves at 300 feet. The jet wash whips the surface of the water, sending spray flying over the huddled survivors. The gray fuselage banks hard to the left. The bomb bay doors cycle open. No weapons fall. Yellow canisters tumble from the belly of the aircraft. They hit the water with heavy splashes 50 yards upwind of the slick. Parachutes detach. The canisters burst open. Self-inflating life rafts expand violently, popping into shape in seconds. Marker dyes bleed into the ocean, turning the black oil into streaks of fluorescent green. Swimmers, move, go! In the water, sailors fight the cold. Hypothermia sets in. Limbs feel like lead. Movements are sluggish and clumsy. A sailor kicks toward a fresh raft. His boots are gone. His socks grip the oil-slicked rubber. He hauls his upper body over the tube. He slips back. He tries again, digging his fingers into the safety line. He rolls into the dry floor and lies there, chest heaving, vomiting seawater. The patrol aircraft circles overhead. Its sensors sweep the area. Inside the cockpit, The pilot marks the location of the sunken hulls. The sonar buoys hit the water. They ping the depths. The return signal confirms the wreckage. Two large metallic masses rest on the shelf. They are silent. On the surface, the fuel fire burns itself out. It leaves only a thick, suffocating smog that hangs low over the rafts. A shark fin cuts the water near the edge of the debris field. It circles once, then dives deep, deterred by the chemical taste of the diesel. 700 hours, recovery zone. The heavy thump 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 of rotor blades beats against the air. 3 rescue helicopters hover over the scene. The downdraft from the rotors blows the oil slick outward, creating clear circles of blue water around the rafts. A side door slides open on the lead helicopter. A rescue swimmer hangs from the winch cable. He drops fast, splashing into the ocean. He unhooks. He swims with powerful rhythmic strokes toward the most critical raft. He grabs the wounded officer. He straps a harness around the man's chest. He gives a thumbs up. The winch motor whines, the cable goes taut. The officer lifts into the air, dripping water and blood. He swings gently in the rotor wash before disappearing into the cabin. Below, the ocean remains a graveyard. Empty life jackets bob in the swell. The jagged tip of the frigate's radar mast, torn loose during the sinking, floats amidst a tangle of rope. To the east, the Irish coast is still. The fog has lifted completely. The cliffs are bare stone. The artillery batteries are gone, retracted back into their subterranean bunkers. The camouflage nets are reset. The ambush site looks like empty, innocent rock. The last helicopter hoists the final survivor. The aircraft banks away, nose dipping as it accelerates toward the open ocean. The noise fades, the wind settles. The waves return to their rhythmic, indifferent motion. The sea swallows the evidence,